morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. Wake up here, guys. Wake up here. It is Thirsty Thursday. Oh my God. Oh my God. We've got, of course, Corona tests for the rookies. If they pass those today and tomorrow comes Saturday, they will start working out at the Star. It's getting closer, and the NFL is beginning to develop a plan for the season as they're working through. We already know that if there's fans in the stands and teams like Atlanta, Jacksonville, I believe Baltimore are looking at, like 20, 25,000 or 20% capacity of their stadiums. Any NFL events that have fans will be required to wear masks. The NFL and the NFLPA are trying to hammer out agreements and things. We already know that the NFL has caved into the NFLPA because they don't want to play in preseason games. The NFLPA had put out quite a while ago what they wanted to have, and one of them was we don't want to risk playing games that are meaningless. We want to have 21 days of strength and conditioning. We want to have 10 days of just, walk-through practices, and then like 8 to 10 padded practices, and then the season. And the NFLPA so far has seeming to have gotten their way with most of their wishes. One of the final things that really needs to be hammered out is how we're dealing with the salary cap. The owners would rather take a hit this year and next year and be done with it. The NFLPA is like, wait. We know we're going to have the television contract. We know that revenue is going to continue to grow. We know there's gambling that's going to happen. We'd rather go ahead and stretch it out over the 11 years that we still have over this agreement. So that way the salary cap will stay about where it is now next year, or maybe a slight increase as opposed to a big dip over 1 year. So they'll get this stuff worked out, and in the end, it doesn't really affect us as much as what it will do for free agency next year. If you're a team like the Eagles, who right now have committed $263 million on under a $200 million cap, well, you're going to have to gut the team, restructure contracts, or I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know what you're going to do, but you're way the F over. But that's not my Dallas Cowboys problem. At least currently, we will be carrying over about 11 million plus into next year's, and we still have some space. I think we're committed at 182 or 172, somewhere around in that number. So it'll hurt some teams more than others. In other news, it turns out the team in Washington, the dumpster fire that is, which is looking for a new name. Interesting thing, Washington.com, or is it, whatever it is, the part of the team formerly known as the Redskins that took care of naming rights and .coms has purchased the naming rights for Sentinels, DC Sentinels. Does that sound familiar? DC Sentinels, anyone? The Replacements, the fictional team that took over for the Washington franchise during the strike, starring a movie starring Keanu Reeves. Well, actually, one of my favorite, sports funny movies out there. It was actually a really good movie. DC Sentinels. Could you see that? DC Sentinels. I'd like to know from you Redskin fans what you think about that possibility, the DC Sentinels. Yeah. It'd be interesting, if nothing else. So, as we hopefully stay on track for having a season, as we stay on track for having a season, and hopefully get our team in healthy and ready to roll, the question is, how will our team do? And it's amazing how much the Dallas Cowboys have evolved. When you think about the Dallas Cowboys in 2014, that was the catch, no catch away from the NFC Championship game. This roster has been completely redone. I mean, there's still a few holdovers. I mean, we still have Tyron Smith and Zach Martin and Sean Lee. But for the most part, this team has been completely redone. In fact, when you think just 2 years ago, 2 years ago, when we had Cole Measley Beasley, Terrence Williams, and Bryce Butler as our wide receiver core, Jason Witten was retired. Oh, speaking of retired, Antonio Brown, who retired for the third time yesterday, was later in the day going after Roger Goodell in the NFL about the investigation on whether or not he was going to be suspended. So his retirement didn't last much more than a day. Again, but be that as it may. Offensive weapons, we had none until we actually traded and got Amari Cooper, which I think was a good move. I personally don't see anybody in that draft for that number one that would have been able to do what Amari Cooper has. Yes, he's had some bad games, but let's look at the Cowboys as a whole. We've had a lot of guys that have had some bad games. We've had Zeke Elliott have some bad games. We've seen Dak Prescott have some bad games. We've seen, Lord knows, our kicker. Our kicker had a hell of a lot of bad games. And with all of that, with people underperforming, you could say D-Law underperformed after getting his big contract and things. With all of the things that happened to us, and having Jason Garrett, having the worst kicker in football, having some of the worst special teams, we still finished 8-8, and we ended up losing, I think, 4 games within 4 points. The difference between winning and losing is not a whole lot in a lot of circumstances. A lot of times the numbers will look really, really big, but it doesn't really tell the whole picture. A turnover here and there can make all the difference in the world in winning and losing. So right now, and I don't know how I feel about this, because whenever the Cowboys are expected to do something in recent history, they don't perform. It's usually when the Cowboys are overlooked, thought to be a bad team, is when we perform. You could look at 2016 and say, when Tony Romo went out, nobody expected us to go 13-3. Yet we did. Then the following year, they figure, oh, the Cowboys, man, a year later with Dak and Zeke, they're going to be great. And we end up missing the playoffs at 9-7, and the Eagles go on to win the Super Bowl. So right now, a lot of people are picking the Dallas Cowboys to be the NFC East champions and having the 4th best odds at actually going to the Super Bowl. And like I said, I'm not sure how I feel about that, because it scares me. We had, maybe getting rid of Jason Garrett will change things. But Jason Garrett had all of these things that just defy logic. For example, we lose the first game of the season and we make the playoffs every year. We win the first game of the season and we don't make the playoffs every year, which is the opposite of the norms. Things like having a 26-3 lead at halftime usually means you're going to win the game, but with Jason Garrett, it doesn't, And, icing other teams' kickers, no, we ice our own. So it was always opposite everything that you would expect. So maybe having Mike McCarthy, things won't be quite so opposite. So Pro Football Focus, skip. The boys of Pro Football Focus, they watch a lot of football. I mean a lot of football. And doesn't mean that they're always right, because predicting football is like predicting the weather. You can have everything that's lining up to be a major snowstorm, and it just doesn't happen. But Pro Football Focus, literally, in the course of 2 seasons, has now the Dallas Cowboys with the best offensive weapons, best wide receiving core in the NFL. I want to just take a little clip out of here from this. Let me see, where is it? Where do we go? That's Prescott, running back, wide receivers. Dallas had one of the most efficient passing offenses in the league in 2019. And it started with Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup becoming the NFL's best receiving duos. The passing offense has been far more efficient since Cooper came to Dallas in 2018, as evident by his 122 EPA, expected points added, on his 907 plays compared to just 2.5 EPA on 425 without him. So clearly, the offense is better. And this is the thing that sometimes people don't understand. You may not have great numbers because you are getting the focus of the attention, and then somebody else will pick up the numbers. You follow me? Because we're so worried about saying we can't let this guy beat us that you have more one-on-one, say, on Michael Gallup. If Michael Gallup didn't have Amari Cooper, his numbers probably wouldn't be as good. And this is those things that, you may have a great edge rusher over here. He may not have a great season because they're saying we can't let him beat us. But that means everybody else has a better chance of succeeding. Cooper's slick route running is the big reason why Dak Prescott ranked second in the league with 197 open throws beyond the sticks last season, and finished third in the league with 503 yards on deep passes, 20 or more. Not bad for a garbage-ass quarterback. Gallup took a huge step forward in his second year and became one of the league's most effective intermediate threats, ranking ninth in the league with 483 yards in that range. Now throw first-round pick CeeDee Lamb into the mix, and the Dallas Cowboys will compete to have the best group of receivers in the league. That's going to be pretty cool. Now, the thing, though, Randall Cobb actually had a really good season last year. Lamb can win on the outside or in the slot, and he's an excellent feel for creating yards after the catch. He may still be working mostly in the slot, but Dallas now has 3 legitimate receivers for defenses to contend with. And they can all line up anywhere in the field. And that's going to be key because think about when we had Dez Bryant, of course, was basically you knew Dez Bryant was going to be on the outside. He got 5 routes that he's going to run, and you know basically where he's going to be. They're going to be moving guys all over the place looking for mismatches and confusing people, especially with the CeeDee Lamb. Let's go on a little bit more. However, let's not forget that the Dallas Cowboys got 828 receiving yards and 6.1 yards after the catch out of Randall Cobb last season. Contrary to popular belief, Randall Cobb actually had his best season since 2014. And understand that he had the bad man Aaron Rodgers throwing to him all of those years. His career was resurrected. Now, again, I will say, having Amari and Michael Gallup, those two guys and Zeke Elliott benefited also Randall Cobb because he had more one-on-one coverage or linebackers lining up and going against them in the slot. Even if Lamb is good as advertised, Dallas will be already just 11 yards away from having the most productive trio in 2019. We were just 11 yards away. Can you believe that? The number 4 spot is wide open, but former second-rounder Devin Smith is the most intriguing name of the group, as he has shown flashes of the deep speed that have made him the second-round pick in 2015. So, that's kind of amazing when you think about what they're saying and the numbers that we had, because we always heard about how the Cowboys failed, how they were awful. But when you hear and realize that you had 2 receivers over 1,000 yards and a third one at over 800, with as many drop passes as we had, with having 3 TDs called back of Randall Cobb's, with ridiculous plays of tripping that were called, and lack of roughing the passer calls in games like the Jets. Excuse me. That offense was pretty good. So, excuse me. Ooh, don't know where that came from. So the question is, are the Cowboys as good as advertised? Or is this just the regular off-season hype? All right, guys. I got work to do, and I need to get a bottle of water here for this cough. But as always, I want to thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. I'll see you guys later.